In the Lab, a Texans podcast that takes a different look at things. Drew Doherty and John Harris have their lab coats and goggles on, and the Bunsen burners burning. Here's Drew.
Hello, and welcome into In the Lab. Drew Doherty with my good pal John Harris. Not just one hand up, but two hands up, waving at you there. Johnny, how you been, buddy?
I've been okay. I like jazz hands, so I was trying to give you some jazz hands. My hands are too big to do jazz hands.
The lighting there in your room, is it? It looks like it's a like more baby blue than a teal blue, like it normally is. Is it changed, or is it just the lighting?
I think it's just the lighting. We haven't done anything in here, so I guess with the light it does some different things. But I don't know. I just like my wife's painting in the background, so I like for that to always be there. She's a brilliant artist, and she did that many years ago of her best friend at an abandoned house on the river in Savannah, Georgia. So shed some light on that. But yeah, I think it's just the lighting. 2 hours from now, it wouldn't look the same.
Was there a van at that house down by the river?
I don't think so. I think Matt Foley was somewhere else.
Okay. I'm in my house. I'm in the master bedroom. Yesterday.
I can't promise you.
Yeah. Yesterday I did it all kind of comes together. There's a lot of synergy here. You, just moments before we started taping this, you did an interview with Texans. You do that every Tuesday during the week. And yesterday I did an interview with Cullen Gillespie.
Oh, nice.
Aggie, the only 12th man ever drafted, the only 12th man to ever score a touchdown. He was very, very productive for the Texans on special teams last year. The few times he was on the field on offense, good things happened for the offense. It was a fun conversation. We did 12 questions, and as you might imagine, because you know about him, he had some fun stuff to say. But he was a really good sport because, John, you have dogs. I have dogs. My dogs went bananas in the middle of it. And I was like, I'm sorry, man. And he goes, oh, no, that's what pretty much every Zoom meeting is like team-wise out of the last month. He's like, I've seen kids. I've heard people leave it. So it's all good. It was fun to see it. And my internet also crapped out in the middle of it. And it might crap out here because I'm in the back of my house. But I have no idea what's going on because yesterday I was really close to the internet or the box and just went bananas. But today
it happens.
It happens. Yeah, it happens.
Yeah, it happens.
Today we're going to do a little over-undering, true or falsing, and we're going to talk about the 2020 Texans with that in mind. And let's just go right off the bat. Over/under 2020 Texans get 9.5 wins.
I said, and I think I want to say I said this to Mark just offhand. I just said, and I might have been in the middle of a rant. I don't know, but I said 10-6, like just bang, just 10-6. I didn't go through and go, they'll win this, they'll lose this, they'll win this, they'll win this, they'll get a streak here, they'll lose this, they'll win. I didn't do that, but I just literally threw out 10-6. So I would be sort of hypocritical if I didn't repeat that and say 10 wins. So I would go over 9.5. Now, I think 9-7 against this schedule is what's the right way of saying this? That's not a bad thing. First of all, I think it definitely puts you in the playoffs, which there's one extra team in the playoffs this year. The Texans have never gotten a wild card. They have always gotten in the 6 years they've been in. They've always won the division, 11, 12, 15, 16, 18, 19.
That's a really good point, actually. That's a really, really good – because the Oilers, they wild carded their way in all the time back in the day. And they did stuff.
And the Texans have been division champs.
Yeah.
So they've never been a wild card. But look, as Tennessee proved last year, you just got to get in the dance, you know? And if you get in the dance and you've got the right chess pieces moving the right direction, you're fine. So I think 9-7 gets you there. 8-8 is going to be really – it's going to be tight to be that 7th spot, but I could see it happening this year. It just depends on, with those 8 wins, they got to make sure that you've got the right 8 wins and make sure you got the AFC wins and the head-to-head wins if you're going to finish 8-8. But I think 10-6, and again, I go back to, I think the offense is going to be better just because it's going to be multi-layered. I think it's going to be a little bit more dynamic. The offensive line's got continuity. I think Kahale Waring is going to be a factor in the tight end receiving game. And I think the offense is going to be, I don't know if better is the right word, but they're going to be more diverse. And I think that's going to give teams some issue. And I think the defense is going to be much better than people think. The more I think about this defense, the more I feel like, man, I'm not sure that I see the sieve unit that a lot of people think this defense is going to be. Look, last year, there were periods of time where they got just gutted because they had a lot of injuries.
Hold on, though. I think, and I know where you're going with this, but I think that idea that you mentioned, that you talked about, it's what people have last in their memories. And they did get sieved in Kansas City, but think about what happened to help that speed along. A special teams unit that had been lights out all season long, in the span of about 3 or 4 special teams plays, they let a big kickoff return give the Chiefs a short field touchdown. They were not able to convert the fake punt, give them a short field touchdown, and then they fumble away the ball on a kickoff. I mean, it was uncharacteristic of what we'd seen from them all season long. And you gave them basically 21 points, 21 easy points, and then from there it was like a snowball going down a hill. So yeah, I'm with you on this, but I just want to make that point because I know where you're going with yours. But so many people have just the last 3 quarters of the season in their mind.
And everybody talks about 51-7. Well, those first 21 points they got came off of those 3 short fields. Yeah. Now, obviously, they ended up getting 30 after that and moved the ball. But the Texans were playing without 2 starting safeties, or a starting safety and then a key safety that came in a lot in Jalil Adai. So they were without those 2 safeties. Lonnie Johnson gets banged up on a kickoff return, on the Mecole Hardman kickoff return. J.J. Watt was just in his second game back. That was not a healthy defense at the end of the season. And hopefully going through this year with a little bit more depth at some spots. And I don't think they're done adding. Now, I don't know exactly what they can do, but I don't think they're done adding. And I think that's going to add to the depth on the defensive side.
Still got 4 or 5 roster spots left.
Yeah.
So they're not at 90 right now.
Right. So I do think, and I don't know that anything will be earth-shattering, but I think considering Watt being back healthy, I know a lot of people are like, well, he's not going to be healthy. Well, how do you know? You have no idea. What he has, come up against are not things that are from lack of preparation or soft tissue issues, that just pop up. There are things that happen when he's going to make a tackle and boom, his pec gets torn. It's unfortunate stuff. So from that perspective, if Watt's back, I think there are some guys that are going to take some big steps this year. Big steps.
Yeah, I'm with you. And it's a good point you bring up.
I think 10-6 for all those things I just said.
Right. And I'll get into my prediction in a minute, but you brought up the Watt stuff. 16 and 17, he had the core, the back, the knee, all that stuff kind of went together. That was nasty. Right. Came back in 18, he was an all-pro. 19, last year, it's a pec injury, which is so weird, just out of left field. Mario Williams had the exact same injury in week 5 of 2011. He had 5 sacks at that point. Lost him for the season. Well, he wound up, I think, at least 2 more seasons after that in Buffalo, having at least 14 sacks. I mean, he had some good seasons after that pec injury. And J.J. Watt's a better player, much better player than Mario Williams. So it's a definite possibility of that happening. Now, Mario was a little younger when that went down, but I still think it's very, very likely, very much within the realm of possibility that J.J. is the J.J. we know who he is and can stay healthy. Now, I'm with you. I'm over on the 9.5 wins, simply because of who's under center. I mean, Deshaun Watson is going to help and make this team go forward. He's going to propel it forward. Every year in the Bill O'Brien era, we hear and we see in August and in early September these articles about how, the DVOA, I think the Texans will be lucky to win 6-7 games this year. In every single season, aside from 17 when Watson got injured, but every year they've always outperformed that. So keep that in the back of your mind when you see these doom and gloom articles about the Texans and DVOA. And hey, maybe this year catches up to them and we're all wrong, but they have always outperformed that. And this year, I think it's going to be because of Watson in years past before Watson got here. A lot of good coaching, a lot of things happened. What was that all about?
Can you see my eyes rolling with that DVOA stuff? Can you see that?
I saw it.
Yeah. Like, oh my God.
You scared me. I thought I'd lost
Seriously.
my internet connection again, and I was like,
sorry, I should know better. I hear that DVOA stuff and I want to puke. I don't know if you saw this, Drew. I wrote a small article. I follow the guy's got to be a friend of mine, John Middlecoff. He does a podcast with Guy Haberman, and they had David Shaw on, who's the head coach at Stanford, and they were talking about a number of different things. And I don't know how this got brought up, but Shaw talked about his good friend Dabo Swinney, and he talked about going to spring practice the spring between Deshaun's freshman and sophomore years. So Deshaun had the ACL tear, so he was still rehabbing. So Deshaun was on the sideline for practice. And I know I'm not going to do it justice, but David Shaw said he watched the entire practice with Deshaun. And he said, I cannot tell you how impressive it was. He said it was the most impressive thing he's ever seen from a player not practicing. He said every single play, he would call it the play, he would call it the defense, he would call out what the quarterback was supposed to do, and then Dabo would walk over and he'd give Dabo his thoughts, and then he'd give him recommendations on what he should do. He talked to players. David Shaw said it was amazing. He said when you get access to that brain, as he called it, he said that's a Drew Brees brain. That's an Andrew Luck brain. I was like, whoa, man, that's big words. And I mean, Clemson, Stanford, they've played once, like back in 1986, so they never crossed over. So I didn't really get how David Shaw would know Deshaun, but he told that story. I was like, man, that's really telling about a guy. And by the way, if you haven't seen Deshaun do the film session with Kurt Warner and Brian Baldinger, it's really, really good. It's NFL Game Pass. I think it's free right now for Texas fans. It is excellent. Yeah. It is excellent. He goes through a touchdown play, gives the name of the play, goes through the whole thing. It's really, really good.
Yeah, well, you and I mean, we've talked with Bill O'Brien in the past off camera, and he talked about when Deshaun was a rookie, O'Brien would just text him at random times when the players were off and they weren't doing anything. It was maybe like early July, but he texts him situations like, what would you do here? And he sends the text, and then the 3 dots appear, and within a few seconds, he's got an answer. So it's not like he was looking it up on Google. I mean, he was like, bang, bang, bang. And O'Brien's offense, his playbook, it's been complicated. There's a lot to absorb in that. And Deshaun was picking it up and flourishing in it as a rookie. So yeah, anyways, we're rambling on. I've only gotten into one over-under so far, but yeah, that's what we do here
happens,
in the
man.
lab.
That's good. All right, let's do the next one.
Next one, it's not an over-under, but it's true or false.
Okay.
There will be a 1,000-yard receiver on the Houston Texans in 2020.
I'm going to say false.
Because the wealth gets spread around?
Yeah. I just think that you're going to have a bunch of guys in the 500, 600-yard category. I think Deshaun, I gave this question to Mark Monday night on radio. I gave him an over-under, and I said Deshaun Watson's passing yards over-under in 2020 as 4,000. And
over.
Deshaun's –
way over.
Deshaun's career average per game is like 255.7, which I think that's right. Over 16 games, that's like right at 4,091 yards. I just feel like he's going to go over that. I think he's due to do 4,200 and above. And to be able to do that, which I think he can do, I think he's going to spread the wealth. I think he's got 4 very capable receivers to throw to. I think he has got 4 capable tight ends to throw to and 2 stud running backs as receivers. So I think all of that gets spread out a little bit more. And I do think that Will Fuller will be that guy that pushes that boundary. I think he is going to continue to be the deep threat as long as he stays healthy. He's going to continue to have a game or 2 a year where he just goes bonkers like he did against Atlanta, like he did against Seattle in 2017, like he did against Tennessee in 2017. He's going to have those games, but I think it's just going to be spread out that much more. And I think that's ultimately what Bill O'Brien and the organization want to do. They want to spread that out. I mean, look, DeAndre Hopkins, you know how I feel about DeAndre. Tremendous player. But you get to a point where you lean on that guy so very much that you kind of short circuit some of the other aspects of what you can do offensively. I think some of the times that the Texans offense looked the best last year was when it went a little bit more up tempo, and it just Deshaun took his drop, took the read, threw the guy who was open, catch it, first down, move, let's go. Handoff, 8-10 yards, zone read, pitch it to the guy that's open, next play, and just go. And one of my favorite drives is the one against New England. There's a drive against New England where it was kind of pitched around, everybody had a catch, boom, hit Darren Fells on the RPO package for a wide open touchdown. And it was like, boom, instead of just one. So I think there are going to be a number of guys with 600 yards receiving. And I'm totally fine with that.
Okay.
Completely fine. So I say false.
I agree with that aspect of it. I'm going to go with true, though. I think Will Fuller is going to break through. I think if he's healthy, if he plays 14 games, 1,000 yards is a lock. I think it's happening. And I don't think it's going to be the 1,000 that we've seen around here over the last few years with Hopkins, like you're talking about. I do think the wealth is going to get spread, but I think he's going to stay healthy this year. But you just said a name, Darren Fells, which leads me into my next one. Over under 8.5 touchdown catches combined by the tight ends group. Last year they had 9. So if they were to go over, they'd at least match what they did last year. They're under, they don't get there. Fells had 7. Akins had 2. Both of Akins came in Los Angeles. You're saying over?
I'm going over.
All right.
I have always loved the tight ends. I obviously was a huge Gary Kubiak fan because he loved the tight ends. Bill O'Brien has always loved tight ends.
Though. He didn't have a group like this. He had Owen Daniels, and Owen Daniels was great.
These are different dudes, man.
Dreesen was good, but these guys are different, yeah.
These are different dudes, and you've got so many different ways that you can hurt teams. I mean, you just think about what Fells did last year. I think about that touchdown that Fells had against Jacksonville. They ran that little RPO package where he just kind of bleeds out to the flat, and Deshaun just a little dart throw. That's a touchdown. So they can, that's one. I just got to get 9 more to get over the number. Or no, I got to get 8 more because you said the number is 8.5. So I got to get 8 and get over. Well, that's just a little dart throw. That's easy. I think, and the more the season creeps up, the stronger I feel about the impact of Kahale Waring. I just feel like Kahale Waring is maybe not going to be Travis Kelce, but following the path of Travis Kelce, when Kelce was a rookie, I remember being really, really high on him. And then 2013, just a ghost. And I'm like, man, what happened? Oh, he got hurt, and he's missed the whole year.
Yeah.
And so nobody knew who Travis Kelce was. Comes back in 2014, and you start to see it like, oh, okay, now I get it. But nobody knew. That's this guy going to give you. He's hurt all year in 2013. Now he's, best tight end in the game. Now, I'm not saying Kahale Waring gets there to be that, but I do remember having the same thoughts watching Kelce that I did watching Waring, like looking very similar in college. And that really, up to this point for Waring, is all we knew. And in 2014, it was all we knew about Travis Kelce. So I think Kahale Waring is going to come in and be a factor, and that could really create some mismatches with his athleticism.
Kahale Waring, by the way, has been part of a group of pass catchers that's been working out recently with Deshaun Watson, and also plans to keep on working out with Deshaun Watson as far as throwing and catching. That's always good to hear because some guys are, not trapped, but stuck in California or Arizona or Florida or elsewhere. They're not around during these times. He's been with number 4. He's one of about 7 or 8 guys that's been around him. So that's good to see. Fun to see maybe if that comes to fruition, all the stuff you talked about this fall. I think I'm actually going to be bearish on this. I think it's going to be under the 9.5 because I think the receivers are going to get some more, and I think the running backs, Johnson and Johnson, I think they're going to catch some touchdowns and get in the house this year. But I think it's going to the number is going to get close as far as touchdowns for the tight ends. I think they'll stay under, but I do think you'll see the yardage rise quite substantially because Akins had about 380-ish receiving yards, and that led the group. Fells had less receiving yards. It was more bang for your buck as far as scoring. But I think those numbers receiving yards-wise go way up for both those guys and Waring, maybe Jordan Thomas too. I think it's a really intriguing mix there. So I'm going to go under. What's up?
Let me give you the one name that I think can change everything for the tight ends. And you're going to hear it and go, huh? Titus Howard.
Sure.
Titus Howard. Because when Titus was in the game, their 5-man protection could stay at 5-man protection.
Yep.
They could use a 5-man protection against 4 and be totally fine. They could use a 5-man protection against an extra 5 and be fine. Where they ran into trouble was when Titus had to come out, and then they had to use Fells in particular and Akins as blockers. And so they didn't get out in as many routes as the year wore on. And so that started to kind of it started taking away opportunities. But with Titus on the field, obviously with everybody else healthy, but with Laramie and Titus on the field, they can handle their own on the edge. They don't need help. You know, they might need a chip every now and again if a guy gets hot, but they don't need somebody to just stay out there and just, hey, we're going to double. We're just going to help and we're going to double. They get out in routes. They have more opportunities. And I think that is huge. Titus Howard being on the field at right tackle is a massive, massive thing for this over-under as it pertains to tight ends. It's one of the reasons why I think they'll go over, because they'll just have more opportunities.
I'm cool if that happens. I think it's going to stay under, though. But now you're making me think, like, oh, man. Because, hey, we've talked about it many, many times this offseason. When you had left to right, Tunsil, Sharping, Martin, Fulton, and Howard on the field together starting, they only that group only started together 6 times last season. But when they started together, Texans were 5-1. And I don't think it's any coincidence that the Texans were much better in those games than as opposed to when they weren't. Okay, my final over-under, John, or true or false, John, there will be a 1,000-yard rusher for the Houston Texans.
Oh, I want to say yes.
Think so?
I want to say yes. I want to say yes, but there's always a difference between want and need. And I need to say no, because I would love to have one of these guys sort of kind of break out, David Johnson, get back in that, 1,400 yards category. But I almost don't think it's best for the offense if either one of them is getting near 100 or getting 1,000 yards or more, because it just means there's that much more of a focus on that one guy in the running game, and maybe a guy is now banged up or the other guy's just not effective or whatever the case might be. But I think if both are healthy and they're 1-2 in this thing, even a little bit more than Hyde and Duke did last year, then I think they're both going to fall short of 1,000. But I think combined, I think they can do 850 to 900 each and have more rushing yards combined than Duke and Carlos did last year, which I think would be about 1,600 yards, somewhere in that range. I think they can do 18 to 1850 combined. But it means that they may not, either one of them, get to 1,000. But I think they're going to get 800, 850 each. I think they're going to get probably 450 to 500 in the passing game. So I think you can get highly effective outputs from your running back. But I just don't think you're going to get to 1,000 because of the way I think they're going to end up playing that in the backfield. And here's the other thing, too. When I think about this offense, I think about the Patriots a lot because all the different pieces in the Patriots running game. And I think that they'll play it the same way. Guy gets a hot hand, stays in that particular game, or they stay in that mode. And so that guy becomes the feature guy for that game. Hey, this is a David Johnson kind of game. This is a Duke Johnson kind of game. And so I think that can happen as well. We've seen that with the Patriots over the years. That Super Bowl against the Falcons, that became a James White kind of game. He had to go in there, and I think he had like 12 catches in that game. And then had the final run for the touchdown to win it in that Super Bowl in the stadium right behind you. So I think that can happen too. I think they both will have good, strong years, but I don't think they'll get to 1,000 yards rushing individually. And I do think they'll get to about 450, 500 receiving. And that really kind of dents that, goes back to that question of 1,000-yard receiver. They're going to take a significant chunk of that. I think they could have 1,000 between them, honestly. And that's going to take a little bit away from what the receivers end up getting.
When I asked this question, I tried to think in my mind, when's the last time the Texans really effectively were able to integrate 3 running backs into a season and get yardage out of 3 guys? Ooh. And my first thought was 2012 because of Arian. And then I thought, well, Ben Tate did some stuff, but you also had Justin Forsett. And I was thinking that Tate and Forsett had a lot more yardage than they did, because when I look back at the numbers, it's actually, Arian had 1,400 yards. He averaged 4.1 a carry, but he had 15 touchdowns on the ground.
Yeah.
He also caught 40 passes and caught 2 touchdowns. Out of Tate and Forsett, who do you think had more yardage that year?
Forsett.
So by about 100 yards, but he only had 374 yards. Tate had 279.
Yeah.
But Forsett averaged 5.9 yards a pop. So that was like I thought, so you get over almost 600 yards from those two, plus
Yeah.
1,400. You got 2,000 yards out of three guys. I think you're going to see a little bit of Karan Higdon or maybe another back besides the Johnson and Johnson tandem. But look out for Karan Higdon because he was on the practice squad last year, promising college career, and he seems like he could do some damage and get some touches and get some success. Plus, running backs get injured. So when that happens, you got to have another guy come in. And I think he's a guy that's now, after getting a year of seasoning, going to be capable of doing that. So keep an eye on Karan Higdon, and I'm with you. I do not see a 1,000-yard rusher from one guy, but I could see a very effective attack from three or two of them combined.
Yeah, Karan Higdon's a fun guy to me. He's a little shorter, but some people say, oh, he's small. Like, don't confuse short with small.
Yeah.
He is a thick, strong guy, and he has always been a guy that runs between the tackles. Always. He has no fear. I used to love watching him at Michigan because he seemed so much shorter than everybody else. But, man, he just pinball off guys. I remember seeing him at the Senior Bowl. It's the same kind of thing. He has some juice inside. I think the year on the practice squad will help him immensely. And I absolutely agree with you. I think he could be a factor at some point. Look, think of the best run games in the NFL. The 49ers have one of them. Raheem Mostert, Matt Breida, McKinnon. They've never been able to get healthy, but they've had a number of different backs that they throw at you. And then they kind of find a hot hand, and at the end of the year, it ended up being Raheem Mostert. And so I think that's the way the Texans can end up going with Duke and David, and I think Karan Higdon ends up being a factor too for sure.
Good stuff, dude. Well, this was a lot of fun. We'll do it again next Tuesday like we do every Tuesday. And I hope you're doing great. And I'll see you
too,
soon.
my friend. Hope you're well.
All right,
man. Sounds great.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to know when we post new content.